Percussion. It's a big part of film music, whether it's electronic, live, sampled, or some hybrid of all three. In this 2 or possibly 3-part series, I'm going to show you a few of the ways I go about creating, programming, and mixing my percussion tracks. Let's do it. You know, to me, percussion can be one of the more exciting aspects of a cue. Whether you're just adding a couple of elements here and there to a quiet cue to give it some motor, or you're blowing the doors off in a huge action sequence. You know, there was a period of time there where people would ask me, hey, what scene did you do in such and such film? And I would ask them back, well, was there explosions, gunfire, cars racing, and people yelling? That was probably me. But I didn't do just action. Even if there was a quiet cue and I was involving percussion, the trick was keeping things interesting. Okay, let's start with the small stuff. If you're doing underscore, maybe an investigative type cue, you might be using synth pulses or short strings to add the motor, or you might reach for a loop library and let that do the work for you. Problem is, everybody else has that same loop library. So what's to set you apart? Well, the answer is create your own loops. It is really easy to take a simple sound and add effects to it, create something that is unique and it's completely yours. Let's start by just playing you this little percussion part. Okay, I think you get the gist. There's nothing exciting about that necessarily, but let's go over how I made those sounds. Okay, so let's start with this first one. Okay, just kind of sounds like a hi-hat or something, right? But here's the deal. What I did is I started with a snare sound and I pitched it up 28 half steps. Here's what it sounded like raw. All right, that's the raw sound. Here's what I did with it. Right? And I added a little EQ, in this case. There you go. Just a little high end. And then we put in some inserts, starting with envelope shaper to make it even tighter. And then a stereo delay. And then Valhalla Freak Echo. So slightly modulated delay. And then at the end of that, I added a compressor. And that delay goes on for quite some time. Now, I want to point out one quick thing here, the hold value on the compressor. Now, I can tweak this and it'll change how the delay sound is expressed. Check this out. See how different parts of the delay kind of come back after the hold is released on the compressor. You can make all kinds of little tweaks like that after the delay line to change what you're hearing. Okay, so let's review that. It was just a snare sound that I pitched way up, ran through a transient shaper, a delay, another delay, and a snare ensemble. Now I could add a second stereo delay here. In fact, actually, let's add one right here. Right. Add yet another one. Put this one at half, and then maybe dotted quarter. See, so you can just stack delays on top of each other and get all kinds of interesting patterns. If I went higher here, Real simple, basic sound. Let's go to the next track here. Get rid of all those guys. Next track. This is one called Panner. Now this one is simply a transient shaper. By the way, this one again was another, let's see, where is it, from D2. This is another one that was the original sound. And that's what it sounds like now. So it's a transient shaper, an auto panner, and then a little compression on the back end. So transient shaper, I think, is free from kilohertz. The auto panner is built into every single DAW. And in this case, I'm using the compressor from UAD, but you can use your own, whatever. So real simple there. And then the last one here, let's listen to this guy. Okay, that was a clave. Tried to take your head off with that one, right? In that case, I pitched it down 36 half steps and put on a little alter boy, give us some pitch changing, an echo boy down there, and a little compressor just to keep things under control. So let's listen to those again. And let's do that in context, okay? Now I did leave off one thing, and that was the bass drum sound. Just a mic tap. In this case, I just took that sound, solo it, right? Ran it through a UAD 160 compressor, which gives it a little bit of bite. And then Pro Q3 to just get rid of all the extra sounds. And then, our old friend, transient shaper. So I have to listen to that. It's nothing exciting, but it's yours. Now, back when I was changing the hold values in the compressor, you might have been wondering, well, how's he picking those values? Well, in this case, those numbers corresponded directly to the tempo, in this case, 120 beats per minute. Now, you might be wondering, how do I convert tempo into milliseconds? It's easy. Take 60,000 milliseconds, which is the number of milliseconds per minute, and then you divide that by the tempo, which is the number of beats per minute. That's going to give you the number of milliseconds per quarter note, which you can divide by 2 for an eighth note, divide by 4 for a 16th note, or you can throw all of that out the window and just Google BPM to millisecond converter, and there's a ton of websites that'll do it for you. Don't bother trying to do the math yourself. It's way easier to use a website. So again, that bit of music right there, not groundbreaking, but that wasn't the point. The point is to get you thinking outside the box, get you thinking about instruments in ways that they weren't designed. Keeps things fresh and interesting, keeps you from sounding like the other guy. Again, we did this with just a couple of samples and a mic tap and some delays and some reverb. And also, make note of the fact that I played all those parts, all 16 bars, all the way through. I didn't copy paste 4 bars or 8 bars of it. Resist that urge. If you're doing a huge action sequence, pick a couple elements and play the performance all the way down. Add little variations as you go to make it sound like it's a real performance. That's really important. We're going to talk more about that on the next one when we do action percussion. If you like these videos, hit all the buttons, and I'll see you guys on the next one.